Today's episode is going to be a little different and significantly longer. Our objectives are twofold. We're going to Bloomington Normal for a weekend, and in the process we're going to attempt to catch the brand new Venture cars on Amtrak's Lincoln service. I've heard that they're running south on the 303 in the late morning and back north on 306. Unfortunately, 306 runs in darkness, so 303 is our chance. To start, we'll be on Metro Milwaukee District West train 2242 from Schaumburg to Chicago. After about a 10-minute wait, we'll start boarding 305 to Bloomington Normal, where we'll do some rail fanning and try to catch a glimpse of the cars. And after the weekend, we'll be back on 304 back up to Chicago. Our journey begins here at the Schaumburg Metro station. With our Metro train leaving Schaumburg at 3:49, I knew if CP 473 left Bensonville closer to 3, like it usually does, there would be a decent chance I'd catch it. Sure enough, a little after 3:30, 473 comes around the corner at track speed to the east, with CP ES 44 AC number 9364 leading. Long after our train pulls in and we begin the trip east, passing the Schaumburg Regional Airport. At Tower B17 we also see 286, a daily St. Paul to Bensonville priority manifest, which would cross after us and enter the yard on a tight window, but I didn't catch it on camera. The east end of Bensonville Yard is Tower B12, and at B12 we switch over to Main 3 to make our local stops the rest of the way in. Our conductor says we have a stop for Grand & Cicero, but none of the other flag stops along the way.
Nomar. Cicero. Alright, no hands in Grand Cicero we make.
Just before we take the curve at Tower A5, we pass Metro 2225 outbound with MP 36PH-3S 405 in Milwaukee Road Heritage paint. Tower A5 is no longer in service as a tower, but is still in use for storage.
Advance approach Augusta, 3 days.
As we come up on Western Avenue Yard, I'm hoping that the two F40Cs won't be hidden by a string of coaches, and they are, of course.
2242 approach to a stop, 81. 2242 approach stop. K2 Lemming. 42 we're cleared, A2 now.
Make our second to last stop at Western Avenue and curve east after Tower A2. Unlike A5, A2 is still in use. Proposals suggest building a flyover here, at which point the tower would likely be removed, but as of now it remains. After the crossing with the UP Geneva sub, this route was once combined with the Pennsylvania Railroad. The Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis, more commonly known as the Panhandle route, ran around the city and ran jointly with the Milwaukee Road into the north side of Union Station. The Pennsylvania also had the Pittsburgh, Fort Wayne, and Chicago that ran into the south end of Union Station. A connection between the two led to all passenger service on the Panhandle running over the much shorter southern route, and the last Pennsylvania passenger train took this route in 1927. The line would remain for freight until the mid-80s when it was abandoned by Conrail, and today only very small pieces of it remain. Another remnant of the past is this former Chicago and Northwestern signal bridge. I believe this was once the main line of the Galena and Chicago Union, whose Wells Street station sat on the east side of the bridge over the Chicago River and served passengers until 1911. Wells Street station was demolished, and today the land is the Merchandise Mart, although the line remained long after the terminal. The only remnant today is the Kinzie Street Railroad Bridge over the river. Freight traffic continued to use it until 2000 when the Chicago Sun-Times moved printing out of their Streeterville offices and the line was left without a customer. Although the joint Milwaukee Road, Pennsylvania line once featured position light signals, these were all removed in the last 10 years or so. However, one Pennsylvania signal bridge remains eastbound at CP Morgan. We finished the trip into Union Station, and I walked to the opposite side to transfer to Amtrak. 305 today is a 5-car train, all Horizon Fleet cars except for a single Amfleet Cafe car at the front. We'll be in the second to last car.
305 Glass House, are we clear?
Clear all departments, headed depart on time.
All clear, okay to depart on time.
We start the slow crawl out of Union Station about a minute early. Near the exit of the underground portion sits some of the new Venture cars, and hopefully we'll see these in action later this weekend. Not long after we reach daylight, we head under the St. Charles Airline and the old Baltimore and Ohio Chicago Terminal Bridge. The B&OCT once fed Grand Central Station on the east side of the river, which closed due to low traffic even before Amtrak took over intercity travel. The St. Charles Airline has decreased in importance significantly in the last 20 years and is likely to be abandoned in the next 10 to 15.
05 approach diversion airline, diversion approach 21st, let's go to 54.
Crossing the south branch of the Chicago River, we see Pingtom Park on the south bank. This land used to be the Chicago and Western Indiana leads into Dearborn Station. After Amtrak, Dearborn remained in use for the Norfolk and Western's former Wabash commuter trains until 1976, when they were rerouted to Union Station, and today this route is Metro Southwest service. At 21st Street, we change from Amtrak ownership to Canadian National, and we start lining up our movements through the multiple junctions ahead.
29, intercity, we got a clear signal, Cermak. Intercity main track 1, no restriction. Looks like we're getting stopped at Brighton.
We're stopping at Brighton. Of course we're getting stopped at Brighton.
21st Street will often be called in historical documents Alton Junction. To the south is the aforementioned Pennsylvania Fort Wayne line, today Norfolk Southern's Chicago line, and to the east is a downgraded CN Freeport sub reduced to a single track. We also run right along the CTA Orange line to Midway Airport, which uses former Santa Fe right-of-way.
Approach Bridgeport. 05, clear Brighton, clear Rockwell. Looks like we're getting stopped at Lemoyne now.
Clear in Lemoyne.
We roll through 3 major junctions before we make our first stop. CP Brighton is Brighton Park, which used semaphores and required all trains to stop until 2007. The first 2 of the 5 tracks are Norfolk Southern's CR&I Industrial Track. The next 2 are CSX's Blue Island sub, and the single track is a remnant of the Panhandle line and is just a Norfolk Southern industrial lead. Next up is Corwith, with BNSF's massive Corwith Yard to the south. Lemoyne follows, where we cross the Belt Railway of Chicago and unfortunately don't get through without a wait.
05, looks like cross traffic at Lemoyne.
Traffic Lemoyne.
05, stop, signal Lemoyne.
Lemoyne.
We then reach our first stop in Summit.
Door 4, over.
Hold on.
One more. 305 anywhere near it.
The CN Joliet sub is heavily industrial and features many oil refineries. After Willow Springs, we hit the first CN defect detector.
CN detector, mile 17.65. Main 1 south found. CN detector, mile 17.65. Main 1 south found. No defects. Temperature 32F. Total axles 24. Speed 79. Detector out.
Finally, we reach Joliet. Unfortunately, it's gotten dark by now, so the ability to take video out the window is severely hindered.
Anywhere you get it, stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Joliet. Next stop is Dwight, about 30 minutes. If just board here in Joliet, please have your tickets out.
However, I did catch this one right after we hit the 90 miles per hour section. After a couple UP defect detectors,
P detector, milepost 4.0. Track 1. UP detector, milepost 63.4.
we reach Dwight. 304 is running northbound and we have to wait for it. Dwight is normally where this meet takes place, so this is not unexpected. Our engineer calls out our signals, lining us into the siding.
5 advance approach 66. 05, diversion approach 070.
Did you say advanced approach?
Approach for diversion approach.
Diverging approach.
Boy, looking good. Have a safe trip.
After 304, we continue back out and make our stop at Dwight. We will have priority the rest of the way to Bloomington.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dwight. Next stop is Pontiac in about 15 minutes.
One more defect detector.
E detector, milepost 80.2.
And Pontiac is next.
Please. Two cars. One more. Anywhere here is good, John. Stand by, hold on.
5 clear.
Stand by. You can highball, sorry.
Leaving Pontiac, we're only 32 miles and 2 defect detectors away from our destination.
E detector, milepost 96.6. UP detector, milepost 115.1.
Advance approach 118.9.
Approach 118.9. Fourth door wing. you get there.
305 approach to version 121. 5 version approach to version 123.
Approach to version.
We pull into normal, and I head off to get dinner.
05 station work completed. 05 highball diversion clear.
Version clear.
The next day, Friday, I head back to Uptown Normal in pursuit of the Venture cars. As I said before, 303 supposedly carries the cars south, and 306 brings them back north later. I can hear a southbound freight talking to dispatch, and they set up a meet at McLean for the significantly faster Amtrak to pass it.
20 minutes away from you right now. They're going a heck of a lot faster than you are.
Okay, so you're on McLean.
We ended up getting caught by it. After it clears, we park and take our place along the tracks right at milepost 124. The station is actually behind us. The track to the right is the main. The near track is actually a long siding, but is the preferred track and platform. Trains will run the main to a crossover about a half-mile north, then switch to the siding. The old Amtrak station remains over on the main track, but unused. After making their stop, trains will switch back over to the main and continue south. Not long after we arrive, the gates activate and 303, very slowly, creeps through normal, led by Siemens Charger 4601 carrying the IDTX reporting mark for the Illinois Department of Transportation. Genesis locomotives have mostly been retired from these runs, but would it have the Venture cars?
303 upgrade approach diverging. We're going to be following one at least down to McLean. I'm sorry, say you know? Yeah, so we're going to be following one at least to McLean, maybe further.
No Venture cars, but the X-Seaboard private varnish on the rear is a nice surprise.
Yeah, that's good. I'll be back.
The Hollywood Beach is a 5-bedroom private lounge car currently based in St. Louis. It was part of Amtrak's inherited heritage fleet, but it was not converted from steam power when Amtrak changed to head-end power and sold off. It received the head-end power upgrade after it went to private ownership. With the freight only a couple signal blocks ahead, 303 has a diverging advance approach at the crossovers to the south. This would improve to a diverging clear by the time it leaves. I leave day one defeated, but there's always tomorrow. Saturday ended up being a gorgeous 70-degree day, so we headed back to Uptown. On the way, we ran along the old nickel plate, today owned by Norfolk Southern. At one time in Bloomington, the Illinois Central and Pennsylvania both had lines in addition to the nickel plate in Alton, but both the IC and Pennsylvania lines were abandoned and converted to trails. The original Illinois Central main to Freeport once crossed the Alton right next to where the Amtrak station sits today. As a side note, I also tried different filters on the video camera today, so if it looks different somehow, that's why. Problems involving freight trains were the headline story for Amtrak today, as the Northeast Corridor had been severed due to a Norfolk Southern derailment. Luckily, we in the Midwest only had disabled trains as a problem. 303 ended up stuck at Brighton Park for at least a half hour due to one, and 302 suffered a similar but even longer fate, leaving St. Louis, and reaching the first stop in Alton 2 hours late. This meant in less than an hour there would be 3 Amtrak trains through Bloomington, as the northbound Texas Eagle was also running about an hour late and would bisect the 2 regionals. First up was the northbound Lincoln service number 302, about 2 hours behind, led by Siemens Charger number 4632.
1, 2, 3.
Next up was northbound number 22 to Texas Eagle, only about an hour late.
22 division, approach division 124.
Should do it.
The Siemens locomotives haven't replaced the P-42s yet on most long-distance routes, and today 22 is being led by Genesis number 55. I got trackside a little late, so I didn't catch it running through the crossover just to the south. Interestingly, a person appears from the locomotive's door to observe the platform. The nice weather in early March has brought out the rail fans, and this little guy looks on as one of the conductors gives him a wave out an open superliner window.
I'm on board and in the clear. Oh!
22 division clear, 123.
Clear.
In the Saturday finale, we have the southbound 303, only about 50 minutes late. In the lead is IDTX 4607, but would it have the Venture cars in the contest?
303, diversion approach, diversion 123.
And there they are. Two of the brand new Venture cars immediately follow the Charger. And on the back of 303, we get another special treat. Our second private car in as many days, today it is former L&N sleeper slash lounge slash observation car, the Royal Street.
One more. I'll go get something.
This particular car, unlike the Hollywood Beach yesterday, never was owned by Amtrak. It was sold into private ownership in 1970. Illinois State's spring break is this upcoming week, meaning 303 is quite full. After a lengthy station stop, it heads off to St. Louis.
Clear, Dave. And Amtrak 303, high ball, communication over.
Diversion clear, over.
Diversion clear, 124.
Guy tried to walk out in front of me right before we left.
Satisfied, our railfan journey for the weekend in Bloomington Normal comes to a conclusion, but there's still the matter of the ride back home tomorrow. Thunderstorms Saturday night tanked the temperature on Sunday, which doesn't even come close to breaking 50. Our railfanning today will be limited to just the ride home.
Track 304, diversion approach, diversion 124.
304, led by IDTX 4601 that we also saw on 303 Friday, pulls in almost 10 minutes early, but we can't leave normal until our scheduled time of 5:50.
That'll be, get her stopped.
At the stroke of 5:50, our conductor calls highball, and we begin our 90-mile-an-hour run across the flat Illinois farmland. It very quickly gets dark, so you won't see a whole lot of anything from this point on. We pass the detector near Towanda with no incidents.
Detector, milepost 115.1.
However, it just wouldn't be a trip without PTC problems, and today it's that our speed isn't being read right by ITCS.
I figured out what's going on with fix ITCS. The speed is higher than the actual speed, about like a mile and a half an hour.
We continue on though, activating the detector near the unincorporated community of Ocoya, south of Pontiac.
UP detector, milepost 96.6.
Pontiac, here, Kevin. Roger.
Next up, after our station stop in Pontiac, is the detector near Odell, then our stop in Dwight.
Detector, milepost 80.2.
What door are y'all working at, Dwight? Is that one over? This is correct. 304, I'm on.
We should be meeting 305 here, so we'll likely be routed into the siding just north of Dwight. But we're not. There's only one more siding between us and the start of 2 main tracks, so 305 must be running late. We hit the detector at Gardner, and not long after reached the south end of 2 mains.
Detector, milepost 63.4.
As per usual, we get the divergent clear at CPX45, and we'll be taking main 2 into the city.
4, first clear 50, 46 cents. 304, diversion clear 45. 45.
I expect 305 to not be too far north from here on main 1, and this is accurate.
I'm all 304, have a safe rest of your night. Alright, you too, have a...
Next up is the detector at 44, and then we reach Joliet.
Ladies and gentlemen, next station stop Joliet, coming up in just a couple minutes. And Joliet, your stop, please take this time to gather your belongings and make your way to the door with an Amtrak employee. We are opening doors at the front of the train only. If you are sitting in the rear of the train, you are ticketed to downtown Chicago. If you are getting off early at Joliet, you need to gather your stuff and head to the front immediately. Once again, Joliet coming up, opening doors at the front of the train. If you are sitting in the rear of the train, you need to head to the front immediately. Thank you.
That'll do, you get your stuff. Alright, I'll be right back. What time are we out of here? I'll be right back. 304, highball.
Like Bloomington normal, we can't leave Joliet until our posted time, so we have a little less than a 10-minute wait. A change from UP to CN ownership is accompanied by a radio channel change.
Air clears, 5-4. Here's 154.
After the detector's at 30.5,
Detector, mile 30.5. Main 2, north, found.
and 17.6,
Detector, mile 17.65. Main 2, north, found.
which both read out exactly the same, we make it through CP Canal with absolutely no problems. Soon after is our last stop in Summit, and we take off for Chicago Union Station.
Ladies and gentlemen, next station stop Summit, coming up in just a couple minutes. Summit coming up. If Summit's your stop, please make your way to a door with an Amtrak employee. Once again, if you're in the rear of the train because you were ticketed to downtown Union Station but you want to get off early at Summit, you need to start heading towards the front of the train immediately. Once again, Summit coming up. If you're in the rear of the train because you were ticketed to downtown Chicago but want to get off early, you need to head to the front of the train immediately. Thank you.
That'll do, you get her stuff.
This is when the fun can begin.
Alright, Amtrak 304, how about?
We start lining ourselves up to get through Lemoyne, Corwith, and Brighton Park. Or trying to.
Looks like we're going to stop at Brighton. I'm not getting any answer from them. We're staying on 2 if you want to give them a shout. Well, I've told him up a couple times he wouldn't answer. Finally, I just called him on the radio and he finally answered. Okay, I'll give that a shot. Appreciate that.
through Lemoyne and Corwith with no problems, but as is seemingly customary, we get a stop at Brighton for cross traffic, and someone isn't too happy to be stopped by Norfolk Southern, who controls the interlocking.
Approach, forward.
One going across, stand careful, get the light.
Of course. You know, seems a bit odd. Couldn't wait, 10 minutes for our scheduled arrival.
Finally, after the world's most important freight train clears Brighton Park, we get a series of yellows.
304, approach Rockwell, approach right, thank you.
I'm not sure exactly why, but we'd be riding yellows basically the rest of the way in.
Diverging right.
We're also going to get moved over to Main 1 at Bridgeport, where we combine with the CN Freeport sub.
304, diverging clear, approach diverging right, Bridgeport, thank you.
As we approach Bridgeport, suddenly, no power. Luckily, it doesn't stay off for long, and we continue on. The problem with the ITCS system is also read off.
Hey, Ari, I'm a bit busy. Write this down real quick.
Go ahead.
0279, overspeed switch faulty.
0279, overspeed switch faulty.
That's right. And for some reason, the locomotive actually turned off for a second. I don't know what that was about.
We come up to the last junction inbound, 21st Street, and go home on the radio.
Divergent approach. Meet you on channel 13.
What's going on?
I don't know if this is a system-wide thing for Amtrak or just in Chicago, but channel 13 is home. It's used for all Amtrak traffic control into and out of Union Station. We get a great view of downtown, even if the camera doesn't pick it up that well. However, we just can't make it without one more brief stop signal.
304, stop, 21st Street.
Again, I'm not sure what we were following here, as Metro's Heritage Corridor doesn't run on weekends. But we finally make it to Amtrak rails.
Divergent approach, 304.
And cross the Chicago River. Before passing the Canal Street Y. This is where the BNSF Chicago sub branches off to the west, and the Y is used to turn some Amtrak runs. The City of New Orleans, Illini, and Saluki will back through this Y to reach the St. Charles Airline and the CN Chicago sub.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, our last and final stop downtown Chicago Union Station coming up in just a couple minutes. On behalf of your St. Louis and Chicago-based crew, I'd like to thank you for riding with Amtrak today on 304, the Illinois Lincoln service. For those of you who have a connecting train somewhere else, you'll need to D-train from here, head on into the station, and you're going to ask a station agent where you need to wait for your train. For those of you ending your trip tonight in Chicago, do thank you for riding Amtrak today. We hope you have a good rest of your night. As we come into Chicago, please, if you're standing, make sure you have a handhold onto something. As we go through the switches into the station, the train can sway side to side abruptly. So make sure you hold on to something so you don't fall over. And watch your step as you detrain. We'll be opening several doors at Chicago, but please only detrain at a door where you find an Amtrak employee. Once again, if the door that you are at is not open, it is not opening. You need to walk forwards or backwards to an open door. Thank you very much. Welcome to Chicago and have a good rest of your night.
Immediately north of the Y and the BNSF mains is BNSF's 14th Street Yard, equivalent to Metro's Western Avenue Yard on the Milwaukee District. Amtrak's coach yard that we saw some of on the way out are on the opposite side of the mains, east of us. Finally, we enter the cavernous southern approach to Union Station. And a couple minutes later, we reach our final destination, a full 20 minutes early.
So shows in 2005.
Track 304 head end. Hamburg flight over.
I actually don't need to take a train out to the suburbs as I got a ride right from Union Station, so a quick walk through the Great Hall out to street level and I'm off to Portillo's. This video was one of the more fun things I've ever put together, and I really hope you've enjoyed this mini documentary. Even though it's a ton of work, I love making these kinds of videos. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and if you did, then hit the subscribe button as I have much more planned for the future as time allows. Until next time, stay safe, stay as excited as this kid was, and thank you very much for watching the Northeastern Illinois Railfan YouTube channel.